Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Ask the Trade Pros, a show where a couple trade guys talk about trade stuff. We're here to answer all your questions about your HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and other home systems, so you can keep your home running smoothly. I'm Todd.
And I'm Jordan.
We get a lot of calls, especially when the weather heats up or cools down significantly regarding your HVAC system. Yes, they do fail. We've seen all sorts of issues over the years, many of which can be avoided with just a simple maintenance or inspection throughout the year.
Regular AC maintenance can help fend off all sorts of problems and extend the life of your unit by years. We hear a lot recently about the dramatic increase in prices for units, the increase in prices for parts and repairs. So talking about what you should be checking and maintaining on your AC unit will save you lots of money, as well as what you shouldn't tackle yourself and leave to those so-called professionals like us.
So I guess talking about maintenance, Jordan, a lot of people probably don't know they know, I just have to have my system serviced once or twice a year. And I see it all the time. A lot of customers don't even know the reason why. They just think, I need to turn it on to make sure it's running or to make sure it's going to start up when that time comes. They don't know the reasons behind it, why it needs to be done, what that process helps, etc. So I guess we should probably go back to the basics and go over the benefits first of the maintenance.
Absolutely. We see it all the time, right? We are a very well-trained installation crew, but we find a lot of things that aren't done correctly. They're not done right. A maintenance technician going out there, he can do the minor tune-ups, he can do the minor checkups that help save you money, but he'll also help extend the life of the unit. A unit that has these minor problems might have a significantly shorter life than expected. We saw it the other day where we had a heating unit that was installed incorrectly, and our maintenance technician, when he was out there, noticed it right away, but the unit had already failed about 2/3 of the length of life that it should have had.
Yeah, that's true. And unfortunately, it's always best to hire a licensed professional when having something installed, because a lot of things homeowners or people think, I could do this. Sure, you can do it, but are you doing it correctly? And is it going to last? With HVAC, some of the benefits, that you're looking at from doing these, what we'll call preventative maintenance or membership agreements. I know a lot of people have membership agreements with your local HVAC company.
So we'll explain that real quick. A membership agreement, just so in case listeners aren't aware, is essentially a maintenance contract you have with somebody, but it makes it hassle-free. If it's done correctly, they will generally schedule it for you. If you're anything like me, if it's not in my calendar and my reminders, I don't remember to do it, and then I forget to do it, and then it doesn't happen. A membership agreement is just essentially a package where some company does all that scheduling for you and automatically puts it on their board.
Yeah, so the biggest benefit that you're going to get from doing these yearly or biannual maintenance on your HVAC or heating system is going to be efficiency. I would say that's number one. A lot of customers don't know that all this dirt or dust buildup on my blower wheel can reduce efficiency by, what do they say, 10%?
10 to 15%, depending on how dirty it is. Now, we're in a dusty location, so you could have dust build up very easily on the coil. What it does is it doesn't allow them to exchange heat as efficiently or cooling as efficiently as they did when they were factory built. And that's just a minor repair. That's something that a inspection will do, one of these maintenances will do, and then they'll know if you need it or not need it. But that prolongs the life. That also has other issues. If all that dust buildup, dirt buildup puts a strain on the system, it operates at higher amp draws, which is more money, which is also more wear on it. It's like driving your car at full blast all the time.
A lot more strain on the compressor.
Yeah.
Even a dirty air filter. A lot of customers don't realize it, but please check your return air filter, because a dirty filter can, again, cause more strain on the system. It can't pull as much air, has your compressor running at higher amps, and eventually it's gonna burn out that compressor. So regular maintenance makes your system more efficient, helps lower your utility bills.
I always advise customers about that, because even if you go in there and you find a dirty air filter, which never happens with customers, right? They always change it when it needs to be. They never miss the date, right?
No, never.
So you take the filter out and you put a clean filter in, but when the filter gets dirty, it starts to fail and all that dirt goes by the filter. That dirt might end up on the coil or might end up in the system, and that's where you'd want a regular professional maintenance. They would inspect it, tell you, hey, you need this, you don't need this, or some dirt got by here, let's clean this up real quick and kind of reset you and get you back to your normal efficiency level.
So that brings up another good question, and I'm sure you hear it all the time in the field, because I know I do.
Well, that was before hearing loss, but yeah.
people always ask, well, how often should I clean my coil? So,
Which coil?
well, that's true because there's the indoor and there's the outdoor. I would say the biggest one is the indoor coil because Jordan talked about dirty filters. And if your filter looks that dirty, some air does bypass that filter. So it ends up on your coil. I would recommend, and this is just a personal preference, I would say clean that coil every couple years. What do you say, Jordan?
Absolutely. Obviously, it depends on inspection. The breadth of houses that we go to, all the way from a nice, friendly, warm, comforting hoarder's house to the customers that are OCD and have nothing but tile, no pets, clean everything. There's going to be variations in how much dirt can get through and on that coil. Your professional maintenance technician will be able to examine it and let you know, but I generally recommend every few years for the inside coil. Now, the outside coil, where we're at here, is very dusty, so it depends on where you live. We had an incident a couple of years ago when the whole top of the town was burning up in the mountains, and that let off a lot of polluted smoke, dust, all that kind of things. And the outside coils, what they're called condenser coils, they were horrible in any house that was up near there. We got so many calls about dirty coils causing systems to fail. So again, the outside depends on where you live, what your yard looks like, where your unit's placed, how that says it. But every couple of years is a reasonable amount of time, I think.
Yeah. And then again, just going back to how important it is, we talk about the dirty air filter. So you have a dirty air filter and dirty coil. Well, then we're talking indoor air quality, right? So you have viruses that come through there. People get sick, dust, dander that goes through all of your ductwork. Ends
My
up in
favorite
your
is
homes.
dirty sock syndrome. That's the best when it makes your house smell like dirty socks.
Yeah, so indoor air quality is becoming a large thing in the industry. People like breathing clean air, so all of this goes back into.
No, except all those people like the vape. That's a whole different story.
Well, yeah, if you vape, you never have to clean it out. Then, right? They can't smell the dirty socks syndrome.
We just offended half our listeners.
Yeah.
So there are other things you catch in a maintenance besides the dirty filter. There could be a buildup in the condensate line. Why does that matter? Well, if it clogs, then you, as we've talked about in previous episodes, you might have a water flood. Then you have water damage. Then you have drywall damage. A proper maintenance inspection can check it out, see if it's cracked, see if it got buildup, see if there's a need to clean it out before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing with maintenance, and we've been going back and forth here and haven't really touched on it, is also warranty, right? So if you have a newer system installed and you don't do all of these maintenances and checkups periodically, it will also void your warranty.
Let's talk about that example I used earlier, the heat exchanger that the company did not want to replace. The improper installation, they would not replace the heat exchanger under warranty until all the maintenance and all the corrective steps were taken. And they only did it for us because we're a good customer of that manufacturer. They were going to void the warranty because of proper steps weren't taken.
Yeah, so that could mean a large sum out of your bank account just from not following manufacturer's instructions and doing proper maintenance.
Yeah, and they can test for this. They'll know by how the thing fails. As Todd mentioned earlier, compressor failures are a big issue. The manufacturers will give questions about whether the proper maintenance was done. Was the coil clogged? Did you see rust? Was the installation set up right? All the things a proper maintenance technician can get. And there's things maintenance technicians do that we don't even notice. When I used to run a lot of maintenance calls, I would tighten wires, and people would never understand why. And it looks like something you're doing for a brief second, but a loose wire creates heat and creates excessive amp draws and puts wear on motors and compressors. So what looks like something the technician is doing for all of maybe 20, 30 seconds actually can prolong the life of many of your parts of your system.
And that's another big thing is longevity of the system, right? Proper maintenance, you can expect a much longer lifespan out of that piece of equipment.
Yeah, we know that. We had a commercial contractor for a while that had some units hidden in their roof that you couldn't service. You couldn't get and change the capacitors, which is a thing that happens regular maintenance, and you couldn't service the units at all. And they were just swapping them out. If they said they're older than 5 years, they got rid of them because since they'd never been maintenance, they would just fail fast.
Yeah, I remember that. Those were almost impossible to do a maintenance on.
Yeah, they buried them in the roof, so bad design there. But maintenance makes a big difference on efficiency of the system, which saves you money, and who doesn't want to save money now? It makes a big difference on comfort. So if you have a system that is clogged up or has dirt in it or hasn't been tuned up, it may be louder water. So one of the things I like to show people, and they don't always know this, when you're charging with refrigerant, there's a critical charge. There's a charge at which it is set to the range that it is supposed to be set on. And this is what a maintenance technician does. He's going to take pressure readings. He's going to take some other, what we call subcooling superheat readings. He's going to take some delta readings, and he's going to set that pressure according to the manufacturer spec. Well, when it's off, you get less efficiency. It doesn't cool as well, but they're also noisier. An experienced technician, I know when I walk up a system, I could tell just by listening to it that it wasn't set right. It would be clunkier, louder, more annoying in your house. The turn off process would sound like a car slamming its brakes on. You could tell. So there's a lot of benefits to the maintenance in terms of efficiency, quiet, wear, comfort. There's a lot of things you can't see that a skilled maintenance technician can do.
And after talking about all this, I would say that a lot of what we talked about to a homeowner who doesn't know a lot is really peace of mind. So knowing that you've had that maintenance done, knowing that, hey,
wait, when it's 110 out, you want your air to work?
well, I like peace of mind. So with that being said, it's true. You're going into summer, it's 110 degrees out, and you feel confident that, hey, I just had this checked out in March, April, May, whenever that was, and you have your paperwork, you have your readings. Okay, my capacitor's good, my amp draws are good, my pressures are good. So you're going into summer with that peace of mind, feeling confident that you're not going to have problems, because nobody likes that all of a sudden hit to your bank account for a repair that you weren't planning on.
Yeah, and nobody likes that, and repairs are getting more expensive. So the other thing about, we call it preventive maintenance. So I always suggest that you, as our loyal listeners, do it pre-season, not mid-season. And what I mean by that, where we are here in Tucson, Arizona, that's March and April, not May and June when it's already 100 degrees outside. We can get ahead of it, but we can also limit the amount of repairs you'll have should you have them. Well, what do I mean by that? I don't know how many of you are car drivers, but most of us are, right? You have brakes on your car. Well, I don't know about you. I've made this mistake, but if you start hearing the brakes go bad and you wait too long to take them in, well, now you have new rotors, new brakes, the whole calipers, the whole setup in the wheel gets broken and you have a major repair. If you go in quickly, you just have pads. Same thing with air conditioners. If I have a capacitor that's going bad, well, I go in, we change the capacitor. It's a relatively inexpensive repair, and then we're good. If you let the capacitor go out, because of what happens as the capacitor fails, you could burn out a motor, you could burn out a compressor, and those are very expensive repairs. So it helps lower the cost of repairs, even should you have repairs.
So Jordan, we've talked about maintenance and things that we look at as technicians and reasons why things fail and need to happen. So I guess we should touch on what customers can do on their side is to play their part in the role of maintaining their system as well. So I would say number one, filter replacement. Depending on your house, depending on, again, Jordan mentioned a few times, where you live, is there a lot of dust? Do you have pets? Do you have animals? All that's going to play a factor into how often you need to be replacing that filter. So monitor that. That's something that the homeowners can do themselves. A lot of homeowners, we have customers that also will go out once a year pre-season and rinse their condenser coil off with water, which helps keep the area clean, make sure you have no brush or trees, shrubbery growing around that condenser, because your condenser is pulling air in from all the sides and taking it through that fan on the top. It's to remove heat from the air. We get that all the time. I show up and there's grass growing into the condenser coils. And
so the condenser or the package, anything outside, you're talking, any outside part?
Anything outside. That's just something simple that can be looked at. So if we got filter.
Clear it, what, 6 feet, 8 feet? What do you want to clear around it?
Well, every manufacturer has different inches or feet that they want away from their coils, but I would say just a few feet is a good rule of thumb from all your condenser coils or anything growing close to it. What else can a customer do to help on their side?
I like that. I like cleaning up around. We find it all the time where customers either they don't want to see it, it's not pretty, so they're growing bushes around it, or they put fences up around it. These machines are just like us. They do better when they breathe well. So give it space, clear everything around it, open that up, change your filter. I'm always of the inclination that you can never change the filter too much. You can change it too little, but filters are relatively cheap. I think there's some specialty filters we have that are about $100, but generally a good filter's $20, $10. $10. But I mean, what's a motor cost? $1,000, $2,000? So realistically, change your filter more often than you think you need it, not less often. Don't pull it out, look at it, and oh, it's good, I'll put it back. We pull them out all the time where people think they're clean. We take them outside, we smack them against the ground, and all this dirt comes off of it. You can't always tell. I like the timeline. I like to just put a time on mine, set a calendar in my phone, and just leave it like that, change it. Other things, just be aware. So this is just like your body when you go to the doctor. You will hear differences in your system that the technician might not know. It sounded one way for a while, then now it sounds different, or now it's behaving different, or now it does something different. Well, call somebody, because you might think it's nothing and you might not want to pay a service call, but if they catch something ahead of time, or if they catch something while it's small before it becomes major, or even if it's major and they give you time to plan for it, that's much better than waiting. Oh, it's okay. It just sounds weird. I'm just going to keep turning it on. Well, then you'll have no air in July. We know how that goes. One of the big things I always advise customers, and it's a little pet peeve of mine, but we all do it other times. We talked a little bit how you have a membership plan and they will auto schedule it for you. I highly recommend such things to you, because we come out all the time. We get customers that want us to do what we call a preseason check in May or June. Well, that's season for us already. It's hot. Parts could be hard to get. Problems could go down. It doesn't matter whether you're going to use the air conditioner that day or whether it's going to be another month before you turn it on. The preseason check will still be a preseason check. It will still tell you what we're at. So we always recommend that you get these maintenance checkups before you need it, not the day you need to turn it on and it doesn't work. So remember to do them early. That's the point. That's why they're preseason checkups, not mid-season checkups.
So if you're ever unsure about any sort of home maintenance, your local trusted trade pro is here to help.
Thank you for listening to Ask the Trade Pros. We release new episodes every other Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a question you would like us to answer on the show, please leave us a voicemail or an email, and we may feature your question in an upcoming episode. That information is in the show notes. This podcast is sponsored by the good folks at Done Right Services. As always, thank you for your support.